Hi all, today we'll study about new chapter, that is preprocessor directives. Okay, so here name itself says preprocessors. Okay, it means before processing something task you have to do it. Okay, so what kind of task? Here if you observed, so that is whenever you are writing a program, okay, that is one C program. So what will happen? This C program will be compiled, then converted into object code. Okay, what is compiled? There is nothing but someone mediator is there that is called as a compiler. That compiler, what it will do, it will convert, that compiler will convert, that is .c file, whatever we have written this file, to object code, that is zeros and ones. Okay, it will convert it, and this information will be given to the machine, because machine knows only zeros and ones. So this conversion will be done by someone intermediator, that is called as a compiler. So before giving to this compiler something modification we have to do it. That modification we are saying is that is preprocessor. Okay, so preprocessor directives. So here before actual compiler reads the C content, so whatever in C file we return, little bit changes we will do it, then we will give to the actual compiler. So this compiler, what it will do, it will convert to the zeros and ones. So how this compilation we are doing is that nothing but GCC. So whatever till now we did it, that is GCC file name, whatever this we did, is nothing but we're compiling the program. So before doing this one, compiling some task, it has to be done. So this also will be done by internally GCC only. So this is nothing but preprocessor task also is done by GCC, but how it is doing, that we'll study here. Okay, so here this is preprocessor directives. So here whenever we're writing a code, so always that is a preprocessor directives, it will start with always hash symbol, and they don't have semicolon. Okay, so always every statement will end with semicolon, but we don't have semicolons here. Okay, and always they will start with hash. So already one thing we studied, hash include stdio.h. Okay, so that is also a preprocessor directive. Okay, so here actually in preprocessor directives we have three categories. Okay, so which all those? First one is macro substitution, second one is file inclusion, third one compiler control directives. So one by one we study it. So here first one, macro substitution. So we have two directives, that is hash define and hash undefined. Two directives which belongs to macro substitution, and hash include. So whatever we used to write it in the beginning of the program, that is nothing but file inclusion directive. Okay, then remaining these things, that is nothing but compiler control directives. Okay, so we have three categories. So for those three categories, these are the examples. Okay, that is hash define and undefined, it belongs to macro substitution, and hash include, it belongs to file inclusion. Then these remaining five, okay, so it belongs to actually, this is compiler controller directives. What are those? One by one we study now. Okay, so first one is hash define. So here syntax is hash define, nothing but hash define will write it, then identifier, then one string we can write it. Okay, so let us consider one example where some mathematical calculation is there. For that I required pi value. Suppose 100 times or more than 100 times I am using the pi value. Okay, so here if I return 100 times pi value in a program, so that is start of the program main, I will write it in that whenever I required calculation, that time I will write as a pi value something, so 3.14. So again I will write some code, again something calculation is required, again I'm writing pi values. So like that I'm considering more than 100 times I'm writing the pi value. Okay, so I compiled it, I am using it. Okay, so after some days or after some time I will feel as a, so whatever pi value I'm using, that pi value is not that much accurate. Okay, so maybe I use it as a 3.14 only. So now I have to consider that as a more accurate value, that is nothing but after a decimal point, maybe 5 or 6 digits I have to write it after a decimal point. So what I have to do is those all 100 or more than 100 times whatever I written pi value, everywhere I have to change it. So it's a headache. So that everywhere I have to change it, and plus it may happen as a one or two places we may leave it. Okay, we may forget to change it. Okay, or accidentally you may modify some other value, not exactly same value all the places. So this kind of problem can be reduced by using this hash define. So that is nothing but what we'll do is we'll define one identifier or nothing but some one or two letters will write it. Okay, consider as this name will give it. Okay, so that is pi, we are giving pi. So whenever I'm saying as a define pi, so corresponding value also I will give it. It may be a string also. Okay, now here we are using in this example, value we are giving it. So here 3.145, yeah, I given. So I am writing that pi value. So okay, and we are calculating it. So here how it will operate is whenever compiler will see that is pi, so automatically it will replace this one with actual value. So whatever it is there, actual value, it will put it here. Okay, so whenever this code will come here, so whatever pi value is there, pi value, so automatically it will convert this value with that pi. Okay, so if I am using in 100 places, automatically it will convert in all 100 places. Okay, so if tomorrow I want to modify this one with more accurate value, only one place I have to modify it, so automatically it will modify in all 100 places. Okay, so this is the one example we will consider here. We are writing this program, so that is hash define pi of some value given, then we are saying as a radius. So you can take it from the user, the radius value, then you can identify the area of a circle. Okay, so that is area of a circle formula we written pi r square. Okay, so pi r square we written it. So that is, so whenever you want to change it this value, you can change it just one place, you can modify it. So like this pi you can use more number of times. Okay, so just for a smaller example we are using only one time. Okay, so if I am using as a 100 or more than 100 times also, so automatically this value will be taken there. Okay, so next macro will go, that is undefined. Okay, so here in this one what we studied is that is nothing but we defined it. Okay, so here we said this kind of one name is there, whenever you see that name replace with this value. Okay, that we saw it. Suppose already this is there, that is already defined somewhere. Okay, now I don't want to define that one, means I don't want to use that one. Okay, so that time I can undiff it. Okay, so that is how we are writing is hash undiff pi. Okay, so if it is defined before this one, so I am saying as a after that pi, meaning I am not using it, that value we are not using it, so stop using that one. Okay, so this will help you to restrict the code part. Okay, so whenever program size will be more, that time you will get it more clearly. So as of now you can consider as a, so whenever pi value is already there, so that value I don't want to use it, so I am saying as a undefined that one. Okay, so now next one will go, that is file inclusion. Second kind of second kind of directives, that is file inclusion. Here from the start of the program by default we are using this one, that is hash include stdio.h. Okay, so here this one is who are using, it's nothing but, okay, it's here already something is defined or some functionality is there, directly we are using it. Okay, so for example this is a simple hello world program, whatever we written, that one is there. So if you observed here printf, so this looks like completely whatever we defined in functions. Okay, so here that is nothing but whatever we elements used, it's one of that. So that is nothing but, this is nothing but function call. Okay, so here if you saw, this is exactly, this is a function name, open bracket is there, close bracket is there, in between whatever you are passing it, that is nothing but an argument and semicolon. Okay, so here what we are doing is just we are calling on function. Okay, that is printf function we are calling it. So here printf function I will call it, that is open bracket then close bracket, inside that some arguments. Okay, we are giving it. So here we are calling the directly function only. So all functions should have declaration also and function definition also, so that part is already written here. Okay, so that is nothing but inside hash include stdio.h, it's already written it. So what this function will do is, so whatever you are writing inside this double quote, this will be printed inside on a monitor. Okay, so on monitor whatever we are passing here, that will be printed. So the task will be done by printf function. Okay, so here that declaration and definition part is written in this one. So what we are doing is, already someone is written the functionality, that is nothing but he written how declaration is there, how definition is there for printf function. Directly we are including in our program. Okay, that is our program, actual program is this much only. Okay, so just we are including that part inside our program. So how we have to include is that hash include open bucket, inside close bucket we are writing the just file name. So like that you can give different file name. If you remember, we used to write one more thing as a math.h. Okay, so math.h is nothing but one more file we are adding it, that is hash include math.h. When we used to write this one, so whenever you are using POW or SQRT, that kind of functions we are writing it, that time we are using this math.h. Okay, so here to include this one we have two types. Okay, there is two syntax we have, that is you can write it inside a double quote file name directly, or you can write it inside a angular bucket. Okay, so that is less than and greater than symbol, inside that you can write it, or you can write it inside a double quote. So 99% time we'll use this one only. Okay, so next one will go, that is here compile control. Okay, so here what we have is just, it is nothing but if else kind of things. Okay, so here we are saying is a if def. Okay, so that is nothing but we are saying is a if this macro is defined, do this functionality, whatever we have inside that, do this functionality. So here one more thing is if ndef, that is nothing but if not defined. Okay, if this macro is not defined, do this functionality. Okay, two things. Okay, that is if it is defined, this macro is defined, do this functionality. Okay, so here in this side, so if it is not defined, because n is there here. Okay, if ndef. Okay, if it is not defined, do this functionality. So we'll check one example. Okay, so this is the first one we are saying as a hash def Raju 100 we given value. Okay, so that is nothing but we defined this macro. Okay, so that is value also we given as a 100. Now we are checking if def Raju. Now we are just checking that macro is defined or not. If it is defined, do that functionality, that is nothing but whatever is there inside that, print it. So here this will be printed. Okay, that is a printf statement, whatever Raju is defined will be printed. Okay, now second one, here we have not defined. So now here we are checking is in this one hash if not defined, that is ndef. Okay, we are checking for abc. If you saw we are not defined any macro like abc, so here this will be true, so this part will be displayed, so that is abc is not defined, we are printing this one. Okay, so here like this two more macros are there. Okay, that is nothing but hash if this one text macro, so and hash else part. So if it is there, if it is true, do this functionality, if this part is false, do else part. Okay, that is a normal if else statement, like that only. Okay, so this task will be done, that is if else will be done in the actual program depending on variable values, all those things, and this one will be done before compiling. That is before compiling means either of these two, here in this example either of these two, only one statement will be kept inside a program. Okay, so here we will take the example. So for this one first, that is were written as a hash def x 100. Okay, now this is a we defined one macro, that is x, and we given value as 100. Now we are checking the that value also. So if you saw here previous one, okay, just we are checking the this is defined or not. Okay, we are not worried about value, that value may be 100 or 10 or 5, we are not worried about value. Now what we are doing is we are checking the value also. Okay, so that is hash if this value is equal to 100 or not, we are checking it. If it is equal to 100, do this task, whatever there inside here, do that task. Okay, so here if you saw output. So what will happen, we are checking this one, sorry, we are defining this one, that is x is equal to 100, x value as 100, then we are checking here x equal to 100. So if it is true, it will print it. If suppose instead of here 100, if I given as a 200, so what will happen here, this will become false, so it will not print this one. So this entire main program don't have anything, so it will not print anything here. Okay, so now we will check it for next one, hash text macro. If it is true, do this part. If it is false, do this part, else part. Okay, so here we return x value as a 400. Okay, one macro we defined, that is x name. Okay, and we given value as a 400. Now we are checking is that macro value x is equal to 100 or not. Okay, if hash if x is equal to 100 or not. Okay, if it is equal to 100, we are displaying value as a 100, otherwise we are displaying in else part it's not a 100. So here this value, if you saw, it's a 400, it will become false, so only this part will be executed. Okay, so this part will become inside a program and only this part will be printed. So these are the very few macros are there for your syllabus. So whatever your syllabus has, those macros we studied. Actually more number of macros are there. Actually directives, these are more number of macros and more number of directives, more number of constant things are there inside a hash, include all those things, but these are the very few one listed in syllabus, only that we studied it. Okay, so this is or completely this completes your preprocessor directives chapter.